You know who made it.
And we are live from LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram. It's Revening's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, revenue party people. We've got hot topics, hot prizes, and hot guests. So I'm just going to get right into it. Hopefully, you all start trickling in here because we have a bourbon hat to get away. I'm just going to say it's pretty cool, but there are other really great prizes, including those from our sponsors. And I just want to give a quick shout out to High Level. High Level is my everything tool. As most of you who come every week already know, it is something I use every day. And I did a year before I even approached them. And actually they asked me to sponsor. So I'm not like trying to like brag or anything, but I was gonna say before I asked them, but no, I just wanted them to be a guest. But anyway, no, it's an awesome tool and I could like talk all day about it. I use it for my newsletter. You can build a website on it. The triggers for the automations are what make it the best, though. And you'll see during the intermission ad the voicemail drop. So you can automate a voicemail drop to like your entire list rather than like calling them and like leaving them. I digress. There's so much more you can do, but be sure to check out High Level. I do have an extended free trial if you want to check them out, and I'm an affiliate. So I get commission if you sign up. And if you do, then I want to help you because then, I have an incentive there to help you succeed. So if you are interested in High Level, I am interested in helping you. Scan the QR code or just go to reveting.com/high level if you are listening to this on podcast later on. And also Cherry Assistant. We want to Cherry Assistant is amazing. So Sabrina is here. She's helping comment in the background. She helped put together all the materials. She helped find all the headshots and, update everyone's screen or names and everything on all the materials, as well as like keeping the social cues filled. She's helping with so much. And we just brought on another VA to help with more video editing for some client work. And so, I highly suggest High Level because, hey, DJ Kim, the owner, they are incredible. They've had a number of, he's had 2 businesses sold. I think probably in the last 2 years, maybe the last 1 year. And so he is just a really brilliant business person. And what they've designed is basically a system that helps align you with the person around the globe who can help you with exactly what you need at the exact right time. So I definitely suggest talking to DJ Kim. So all you need to do that is enter to win the prize tonight is tag High Level. Also, you can go to cherryassistant.com. I'm trying to find the QR code for Cherry Assistant right there. Head on over to Cherry Assistant. I actually need to update this because they just sent me a new affiliate link. So I don't know, Sabrina, if you heard that, I need to update this one to make sure that we're capturing you, just to make sure I get credit for it if you do end up working with them. And because I appreciate all of your support. And they really do an awesome job. And, I've just really appreciated my experience with them. But other than that, we're giving away some amazing prizes tonight. So let me show you. High Level, if you put that in the comments, you're entering to win this swag pack. Cherry Assistant, I just told you about them. Get 10 free hours with a virtual assistant if you enter to win. So there's one winner per prize. Enter to win 10 free hours by tagging Cherry Assistant throughout the show. We'll give away prizes at the end. And then there's hashtag headset for a free wireless headset from Headset Advisor. So if you're on your Zoom calls, you want to be able to walk around, maybe get a cup of coffee. It's hard. You don't want to be tied to your phone or to your computer screen, right? Just get this professional headset to help you with those situations, and there's noise canceling. So definitely just put hashtag headset to enter to win. It's totally free. If you win, they will ship it to you. Hashtag personal branding to enter to win 1 month free in my program, where we go over LinkedIn. Really, TikTok is a big one now because video is everything. And so we're talking a lot about creating video. So if you want help creating video, that's what we're going over. But really, you have to get clear on what you want to be known for before we can just start creating a bunch of content. So there is a lot of strategy because we want you to understand your audience and who you're talking to. But I digress. Prize 5 is from the guest who I'm going to bring on here in just a moment. So I'll let them tell you about their prizes. You can see the bourbon hat here, but put in hashtag revenue to start entering to win their prizes. You'll see the keywords throughout the episode. Make sure that you are entering to win. And I'm going to go ahead and welcome in our guests so we can hear their full life story, as you know we do. Welcome to the show, Kyle and Lauren. Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Ditto. Thanks for having me as well.
So glad to have you both here. And I am really looking forward to hearing your full life story. So, Kyle, could we start with you? Could you tell us your full life story, starting with birth? Where were you born, and what brought you to now in 2 minutes? Take it away.
I'll do my best. It's a lot to cover in 2 minutes, but I'm originally from Massachusetts. I've spent most of my life living on the East Coast, a variety of different places. One of the highlights for sure was in New York City, where I spent about 9 years working for some of the biggest alcohol companies in the world. And really, that's where I cut my teeth in the industry and really found a love for it. And have slowly meandered my way down south. It kind of ties back to my undergrad. I went to University of Richmond. I always loved the South and wanted to get back down to the South, and moved here through kind of one of the benefits of COVID was working from home. So I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, where I met up with Mati Antala, the founder of Grain and Barrel Spirits, and formed a great relationship with him. He invited me to come in and work with the great brands at Grain and Barrel Spirits. We have 6 spirits brands in the portfolio. For all intents and purposes, Chicken Cock Whiskey is our big brand. It's probably the brand that drew me to the company. I've always wanted to work in the whiskey category. I personally love whiskey. I've done the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky, and really just enjoy that entire category and really all spirits. A few things about me that you won't find on my LinkedIn page. Beyond the spirits industry, I love cocktails. I love going out and trying new food, new restaurants. New York Times just dropped their top 50 restaurants this week, a few days ago, and I look forward to that list every year. So it's things like that get me going. At one point in my life, I was a great basketball player, but that is no more.
I love that. Thank you for that last tidbit. I could totally see you as a basketball player. I mean, it's all coming together now.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
Doesn't allow for height, but height is one of the benefits there. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can't even really tell how tall people are on Zoom, though, right?
No, I find myself wondering that often.
I know people always assume I'm way taller than I am when they meet me. They're like, "Whoa, I thought you were taller." But anyway, I digress. Lauren, could you please tell us your full life story from birth to what brought you to now?
Okay, I sure am going to try. All right, I'll try to be really fast with this. When I was a little girl, I can remember a first day of school picture where I was headed to school, probably around 4th grade, and I wasn't wearing a backpack. I was holding like a Sassoon briefcase. I was wearing sensible pumps. My hair was in like a little low bun, and I was like ready for the boardroom, not necessarily elementary school. And so from there, I remember that the beginning of my creative ideation came when I wanted to babysit for the neighborhood parents. And I put up a sign on the stop sign pole. And I was like, I got to be creative if I'm going to tell them about my babysitting services. And so I was trying to think of like, why would parents want to go out and why would they hire me? And so I remember writing on there, save your marriage, go on a date. And I had my phone number below. And so it was kind of the early, when I reflect now, it was like the early indications that I had a creative advertising career ahead of me. And so fast forward through the rest of things that I was doing as a youngster, I wasn't necessarily excelling at ice skating because I was doing these axles, but I was winning because I was dressing up as Pee Wee Herman and doing the tequila dance. So creativity and the intersection of like entrepreneurialism, creativity, and commerce have always been kind of a thread throughout my life. And so when I went to the University of Texas at Austin, I was actually majoring in broadcast journalism. And when you're in the communications college, they make you take a course in the communications college, but outside of your major. So I just checked the box for intro to advertising. And when I got into that class, I was like, wow, I'd never thought about ads and creativity and how this works. And so it became a very natural major for me. So I then shifted out of there. And what set forth was me working for Fortune 500 brands and advertising agencies, as well as starting my own businesses as an entrepreneur, and then working directly with founders. And the last 25 years have been a roller coaster of me working through all different avenues of helping people express themselves and get out there in the world creatively. Or am I done? Because the time started over.
Yes, you are done.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And I love the story. I'm like, man, I'm sitting here thinking, I wish someone like you lived in my neighborhood and did that sort of advertising for babysitting, because I would hire you so fast.
It triggers you to go on a date, and also then there's somebody to help you do it. Yeah.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. And it's hard. I'll say, especially these days, but I'm sure every generation says that. But, just we all need to get away and relax and unwind and be present. But I digress. Let's get into our first topic for tonight, which is standing out and crafting your unique brand. Lauren, could you kick us off and share some of your guidelines and perspectives on this?
Sure. So I hinted to a little bit about the beginnings of my career, and I started in the traditional advertising agency, working for a big corporate shop here in Austin, the best one in Austin, called GSD&M. They're known for the Don't Mess with Texas, Southwest Airlines. And I was crafting campaigns for legacy brands that have been around a while. But what the art of what I was taught in school was to help sell something creatively and differently and distinctively. So how do you ignite emotion in the end user and in the customer? What makes them fall in love with your brand? What makes them know you and want to stick with you and be loyal to you? And so all of those early education and all the early knowledge in creative advertising tracked with me throughout every endeavor that I did. And so now that this is a recent pivot for me to start really niching down and focusing on personal brands, it makes more sense than ever with all the work that I've done with products and services. Now that I'm pivoting to people, they are a product and they are a service. And so my platform is that I believe, and my mantra is that I believe, if you are a personal brand, your branding should be personalized. You are so unique, and there is nobody else that can really do what you do. Even if your service is something like, if you're a coach, if you're an executive coach, that's like the ice cream aisle at the grocery store. So you're shopping the ice creams just like you'd be shopping coaches. Well, what makes you stop on a Ben and Jerry's? What makes you stop on Haagen-Dazs? Why can't you stand out as a person as well? And so that's what I'm really passionate recently, is to be able to brand people just the way I would brand products and services. So what I first start with most of my clients is, Simon Sinek always says, start with your why. And that's true. We should start with our why. But I actually think it's almost more important to start with your who. Who are you serving? Really narrow down with who is the person that you want to give your gifts to? Because we're all are here. My belief is that the human experience is that we're all here to find our unique gifts and exploit them in service of others. So once you find who those others are and who you want to serve, then the vehicle to which you serve them is your craft. It's your trade. It's how you help them transform and give back to the world. And so finding your unique USP, as I call my unicorn factor, is kind of how I differentiate and craft a unique brand.
That is really awesome. I love everything you shared, and I could go off on all of the parts on that. But before I do, I want to hear your perspective on this topic, Kyle.
No, I was getting ready to chime in. I didn't know if it was my time yet, but yeah, no, this is a great conversation. I think it's, building a brand around a product is not dissimilar from building a brand around a person. It's starting with who you are as a person. Think about brands as people too. And when you're building a brand proposition, starting from scratch, if you're thinking about an innovation process and building a brand, you got to think about, who you want the brand to be. And part of that is who you're going after, meaning the consumer. And matching those two who's up so that they can meet each other and become really good friends. And that creates a great brand proposition from a product to match up with a consumer and a person. So, I definitely see the value in that. And as you're thinking about who you are, like thinking about the values that you stand for and who you want to be associated with, and that gets into a little bit more of we'll get into later, but on partnering. But yeah, everything you do, all actions, everything you say, this conversation, is part of my personal brand and is a representation of the brands that I work with. So it's a really kind of cool time that we're living in, where a lot of things are being captured and distributed, and it becomes part of our unique brands, in addition to the brands that happen to be working on.
Yeah, it's so true. And I really loved what you said to both of you. You reiterated it on the who, but like in terms of the audience, like if you don't know your audience, then who are you talking to? Like, so you need to know yourself, but you also need to know like what are their pains. And oh man, we talk about that on every episode. I feel like probably like, the importance of audience and understanding them and having product market fit, because you can sit here and turn your wheels all day long, sending out content and emails. If you don't have product market fit, it's not going to go anywhere. But man, what would you conclude with on this topic, Lauren?
I think what you were just saying about product market fit, and also hearing the juxtaposition between a business brand like a spirit and personal brand, is there is an interesting dichotomy between how you show up so there's so many multi-passionate people. And so the multi-passionate world of like, especially with founders, and when you think that like I'm offering a service and a business to so many different people, it really is hard to just narrow down to one avatar. Especially I would ask Kyle too, like how you would do that in the spirits industry, because I think that you would think like, well, bourbon is for anybody and everybody that loves bourbon. Like, can you narrow that down, But then as the leader of your company, is there something that you represent? Like, why did you create this bourbon? Why do you want people to feel a certain way when they consume it? And so I just think ultimately to be unique and distinctive can't ever hurt you. It really can't. There's no way that just going out there and staking your claim and saying who you are and being the unicorn amongst all the horses, there's no way it could ever really hurt you. It can only help you. So my rally cry is just to try to really find what that is about you that makes you stand out in your industry, and really express that as much as possible across all your verticals and all your platforms.
Such a great point.
Yeah,
do you want to answer that, Kyle?
There's like when there's a brand background that we have in PowerPoint presentations that most every brand that I've worked on, one of the ways we go about thinking about like what do we want this brand to stand for, you start to personalize it and use human attributes to describe something that is not human. So I do think that that's interesting. And also, as you're describing those attributes and you're talking about what they like, what they don't like, to start to figure out who you are as a brand, you can even start to think like, we're this person, like literally a celebrity, and who that celebrity is. And then that gets back to like what Lauren's doing. Those celebrities are building brands around who they are as people, just as much as I'm building a brand around a certain whiskey.
Yeah. I love actually that exercise. I do that. I did that now in personal brands. They have themselves, but I would do that a lot with products and services to try to say like, are you the Betty White? Or are you the Meryl Streep of your brand? And then it also helps internally for everyone to know like, okay, I get it. Because usually celebrities are kind of a unifying everyone can kind of agree and they know who those people are. So I think that's a great exercise as well. And then it's also interesting because I would do campaign executions. Like I did a Mother's Day, Father's Day campaign for Deep Eddy Vodka, and their go-to market was not moms and dads, And I was trying to make an argument when I pitched them that we're actually aging into, like, we were your target market when we were in swimsuits in the pool and drinking your vodka back before we were parents. And then they have like kind of a Betty Page like look to them, Deep Eddy Vodka does. And so when we move into motherhood and fatherhood, we're still drinking the vodka. And so why would we not like continue that marketing to us as a target market? And so we did it through Mother's Day, Father's Day campaigns, but they didn't want to put all their money into that. So I'd be curious to know, even from you, like, how do you hone in on who your target market is?
Yeah, for target market is it's interesting. I think it's different. That brings up a conversation about brand life cycle too. Is who you start with is a little bit different than who you end up selling to. I think there's somebody you might have in mind about when you start selling, who your target is, who you want to be drinking your brand. But as it goes out there, people who end up buying it and bringing it home, bringing it to parties, sharing it with friends and family, a few years from now, people who are actually drinking it and are representing most of the volume of the brand might look a lot different than what you started out with as your target market. So that needs to evolve and shift. So it's a constant learning process. It's not like this is our target and we're only going after these people and we'll always go after these people and we're not going to change. I think you need to be smart and kind of listen to what's going on in the marketplace and see how that's shifting. And for a brand like Chicken Cock Whiskey, we're kind of in a really nice growth phase right now where the brand has been built and people are super deep into whiskey aficionados, and now we're going to a bit more of a mass market and general market consumers. So we're doing a lot of listening right now, trying to figure out who that next consumer is, and in a process of almost redefining that target market.
Man, that is so interesting because you are basically having to constantly adjust, it sounds like, and just always having, and then B2B a lot and will really specify and niche our audience. Like, I do this for this job title, right? Like, so it's such an interesting topic, but let's get into the second topic. And before I do, Lauren, I love how you keep mentioning the unicorn thing. So I want to make sure we're telling the audience, if they're putting #revenue, what are they entering to win? I'm going to put us here closer to the center and pull up a picture of it. But Lauren, could you start to explain the unicorn gift?
It's so cliffhanger. It's like it's behind the curtain, just a unicorn gift. It is a surprise. You will find out. Well, I'm very, very passionate when I brand people or brands that there is some kind of sticky item, that there is something that represents you and the people know you for. If it's the Clydesdale horses for beer, then for me, it's the unicorn for me. It represents kind of me, but also my clients. And again, what I talked about is just trying to uncover their unicorn factor. So I have a gift that I give clients when I launch them that just is kind of personalized, but also just some fun unicorn items that I think would be more fun to just give to the winner and they can discover it versus telling you exactly what it is. But it's fun. It's just things that can remind you that you are a unicorn and that you should be unique and that you're special and you have gifts to give back to the world.
I love that so much. Can everyone in the audience please put a unicorn emoji in the comments just for love, along with your #revenue, because now you have to see what the unicorn gift is. Of course, you can see the bourbon hat, which I love. Can you tell us a little bit about where the bourbon hat came from, Kyle?
Sure. Yeah, I have one here.
Nice.
And it's not just a bourbon hat, but we also have some nice Chicken Cock Whiskey branding on the back. This was actually done in partnership with a company out in Southern California called Ample Creative, and they make hats. They make really cool vintage hats made from high quality materials, and they're made in the USA. So a lot of what they're doing on the product side and their brand values match up with what we're doing with Chicken Cock Whiskey. And that was a really cool partnership. And it's a sweet hat if you're a bourbon fan, or if you're not, and it's just still is a cool hat.
It is a really cool hat. I mean, I don't drink bourbon anymore, but I would still wear the hat. And I digress. Let's get into our second topic. So I'll make sure and keep the keywords on the screen. Everyone, make sure you're still entering to win all of the prizes. But second topic is partnership marketing. We said we were going to get into it. So values for mutual benefit. Could you kick us off on this topic, Kyle?
Sure. And that was a nice segue there with talking about the hat. And that's an example of a partnership. And, as I was describing who Ample is as a brand, that really is the start of partnership marketing. And, one of the reasons why it's I think it's valuable. It's maybe one of the most valuable things you can be doing as a brand today. But it starts with identifying, who you are as a brand, and then, drawing concentric circles around who you are as a brand, your brand values, and finding like-minded brands. So, the best way to think about that, or for me to share an example, is to share one of the ways we've done that with Chicken Cock Whiskey and some of our partnerships is, maybe obviously Chicken Cock Whiskey is a whiskey. So finding other, whiskey items or partners, whether that's glassware or bitters or cocktail mixers, things like that, those all make sense. They're very close in. It's the innermost circle. But if you start to draw some circles a little bit further out, you get more into the brand values and thinking about things like, hey, we are both making things in the United States or making things in Kentucky, and we both value being bold and kind of going beating to our own drum or going on our own path. So once you start to get into those more of the brand values, those concentric circles around your brand get a little bit larger, and you can start to think about partners in different ways. And maybe you're getting outside of alcohol, and you're starting to partner with companies that make hats, as an example. And then you can kind of keep going from there, and you go further and further out. Before you know it, you're in a totally different space. And the value there is you're reaching a different audience. But if you've done your partnership marketing correctly, those concentric circles around your brand have led you to a place where you're still reaching consumers who really can make sense for your brand, make sense for reaching new people by leveraging another brand's audience, and that's really where a lot of the value comes in. Just think of like one of the benefits for Chicken Cock Whiskey and working with a company like Ample with the hat that we created was they have a massive email list. We do as well, but we've been able to tap into that, and there's virtually no overlap on our email list. So we're reaching tens of thousands of new customers and selling a hat and a whiskey, and we're both expanding our audience. We're able to talk about that in press. We're able to create a bunch of social content, give the story behind both of our brands, why we partnered up. So those types of things really help tell brand stories, but also introduce a new audience to your brand. And I think it doesn't cost anything if you structure the deals to kind of work that way, except for your time, your effort, and kind of coming up with the idea. So that's why I think it's a great way for brands, especially smaller brands, to start doing kind of marketing that is not paid. So I could go into a variety of different spaces there, but I'll pause.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I totally agree and love everything you're saying. And just like before, I could comment on everything, but I want to get your reaction, Lauren. What's your take on all of this?
On all of which part exactly? Because there are a lot of points. Which part would you like me to expand?
Any point you want. I mean, gosh, so many points stand out to me on partner marketing. I think B2B SaaS brands, we think of partner marketing a lot as like, and I say is like integrations, right? Like
Right.
I'm going to integrate this tool with this tool. But like, I loved your example of you could partner with a hat company. So like if you're like you don't have to be within your industry. Like there, you can be creative about your partnerships, and those make really great social media opportunities. So I think that's a really great point.
Absolutely. I think if we're talking about partner marketing, I absolutely love that. And before I become a personal branding creative director, I had my entrepreneurial endeavors. And sometimes when I would do events, I love throwing events. I found that partnership marketing was a great way to not only create sponsorships, but also share my audience with them. And so I would say my most recent example of this, and we already just talked about the value of it, was I was a chief brand officer at a short-term rental company here in Austin. And one thing we did every year was we turned one of their Airbnb lofts in downtown Austin into what I called the Winter Wonder Loft. And what it started out as an idea that the founder asked me to come up with an idea for a holiday something. And she was like, should it be a light show? What should we do? And it's right at the corner of 6th Street in Austin. And if you're familiar with it, that's kind of like the party street at night. And so it had a lot of eyeballs. And since I was coming in to help turn them into a brand, I said, well, whatever we do needs to be impactful, and it needs to kind of either tie back to the brand or just get some chatter in some way. And so since it was a balcony overlooking 6th Street, I had the idea of creating like an 18-foot elf on the shelf that we could get a prop maker to make and set on the balcony. And I named him Dale on the Rail, and we created a website for him, and he had his own Instagram persona, and I wrote in first person, and we made sure we didn't infringe on any licensing with Elf on the Shelf, which is why it was called Dale on the Rail. And so we did some events, and we definitely had people come over there. But as the years progressed and the Winter Wonder Loft turned into this beautifully decorated space, the founder had the ability to rent it to other people that just would rent normally to have a fun Christmassy holiday place to stay. But in most recent years, she was really trying to think about her corporate social responsibility. And so that partnership had me thinking about like, well, if we don't want to, we can rent to the public, of course, but if we want to give somebody else the opportunity to come experience Dale on the Rail and the Winter Wonder Loft, what would be a synergistic partner there? And so who is in the lodging business? Who is in the business of needing a place to stay? And it occurred to me that we have this amazing place here in Austin at Dell Children's Hospital with the Ronald McDonald House. And their whole business is around lodging. It is like giving their heart back to humans in the most vulnerable states of their lives, helping their children heal. And so during the holiday time, we just felt like that would be such a perfect partnership to team up with them. And it ended up being so almost obvious that we got tons of publicity. They had never had anyone reach out to them to take people off campus. And so these families were so appreciative of it. They were able to bring their family members in, and they were able to get a little bit of a respite and time away. And so it ended up being like really one of the best partnerships ever. That I don't know in the end game, like what the numbers were on the ROI and like what money was left there, but the impact that it gave, it was kind of like one of those priceless ROIs that you can't really measure. And it really gave back to the community and solidified her as a long-term partner with the Ronald McDonald House here in Austin. And so those kind of things really mean a lot to me. Like I love those kind of advertising or partnerships that give back in that way. So that's my 2 cents on partnerships.
I think that's a key point there too. At the end is like you mentioned it at the end, Lauren, but I think it's a key thing to discuss in the upfront when you're talking about partnership marketing. Is what are everyone's goals? If your goal is to drive a bunch of revenue, that's really important to know in the beginning. A lot of the partnerships that we are doing are not necessarily about revenue. It's about press or social or content creation, which are not revenue driving activities. So, if one partner wants revenue and another partner wants press, and you go into this partnership, it right from the start doesn't have a high degree of likelihood of working out because you have different goals really from the partnership. So I think discussing that right in the beginning about what you're looking to get out of this is a key to making it work for everyone.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a good point. Communication is key. So I'm kind of curious, Lauren, I liked that question in there. Was Dale on or off the rail?
I know. I was looking up his website to try to paste one in there. I think it's the winterwonderloft.com.
That's hilarious. I love that story.
He was on, but there is an Instagram post because we had a New Year's Eve party with a girl who rented it. And so she was standing next to him and she was having fun with him. So I don't know. It's dependent. He was there to do a service. Santa sent him. And he was there for 30 days in Austin to just kind of keep everybody in check and make sure they were all behaving and give back to the community.
Amazing. Well, I can't wait to hear some more stories about this. Neil says sometimes you can't measure the ROI, and it's true. And I loved how you were talking earlier, Kyle, about getting away from more paid media because let's just be honest. No, people don't want to be advertised to these days, right? So like the organic stuff is so important, but it's hard to like be authentic if you're not being, you know, if you're just sitting there looking at the attribution tools and what the attribution tools are saying is coming in, and dark social is a real thing. I don't know if you've heard the term, but there are, when you go make a LinkedIn post, for example, or this LinkedIn live stream, for example, if you're watching it and you're hearing about one of our brands, and then you go Google search us, and then you go to the website and you go to the form, well, the CRM is going to say that you heard about them through Google, not through this show. So that's what I mean by dark social. Like you can't, I really agree with you there, Neil. Sometimes you really can't measure the ROI and the good ROI, because I'm sure Lauren's event had a lot of that really good ROI that we just can't capture, just like a lot of dark social. But I digress. We will be back right after these quick messages from our sponsors.
Check these emails. Wait, I need to write the script. Oh my god, I forgot to schedule all my content last week.
I know the chaos of running a one-person business can feel too much sometimes. Cherry Assistant has become my secret weapon to success. Having an actual niche assistant has been so game-changing. But since bringing on one of their virtual assistants, they have been handling all my nitty-gritty tasks, from DMing people on my socials to following up with leads, even doing the cold outreach for me. Plus, to help with all the tedious admin tasks like managing emails, scheduling appointments, reminding me of appointments. Just imagine the time that you're going to have when you have an actual niche virtual assistant helping you with all these things. So with your assistant, you're never going to have to worry about the little things again. You don't want to call with them. That way they can actually gauge your business needs, and they're going to help you fill the gaps. You go to cherrysystem.com, you can get on a call with one of them, and they're going to help you find your person. Now you can actually finally free up some time to focus on building your empire.
I want to show you how to do a voicemail drop. And voicemail drops can be really creative ways to reach your audience. And, many of us are spending a lot of time on the phone making calls, but hey, I'm here over in marketing to report that you can do a mass voicemail drop. And let me show you how. Let me log into my account here, Reviting. The hard part about any campaign is knowing your audience and knowing what you're going to say to them. Definitely check out Lead Magic if you haven't already. So what I love about Lead Magic is their lead scraper. You can see that right here. Also, another thing are the technographics. Then import that into High Level. So High Level for me, it's white labeled. It's app.reviting.com. So when you go in here, you're going to you can get your contacts in here however you want, the ones that you want to do the voicemail drop with. Once you know who you're sending your voicemail drop to, create a new workflow from scratch. And you can add in your trigger, which would be the tag that you add. For me, and for this example, I'll go ahead and say tag added, and it will be anyone who downloads my free LinkedIn 5-day challenge workbook that's on my LinkedIn page. And if you get that, we'll go ahead and wait just for a minute, save action, and then we're going to do voicemail. All right, so now I need to get a voicemail and I need an audio file. And luckily I have this just like free online tool. You can go to 123apps or online-voice-recorder.com. You can see it on the screen. And I am just going to record a voicemail. Hey, it's Jessie Lezak. Wanted to follow up with you about the 5-day challenge workbook and course that you downloaded and see what you thought of it, if you've had a chance to complete it, and how I can support you on your journey to LinkedIn growth. give me a call back anytime. My cell phone number is 510-335-9355. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. We'll move this in a little bit. Move that in just a tad. Save. Open so I can't see. So here is my recording. There it is. It's loading. Hey, it's Jessie Lezak. Wanted to follow up with you about the 5-day challenge workbook and course that you've done. And that's how people will get into the voicemail drop. And I think you should try a voicemail drop too. And if you would like some support on that, I would love to help you. Just give me a call. You already heard my number in the recording, 510-335-9355, or you can email me at Jessie, just my first name, JESSIE @reveting.com. That's REVETING.com. Hope to help you with your voicemail drop here soon. Big thank you to High Level and as well as Cherry Assistant. And seriously, like, well, you can get a free swag pack if you want from High Level, and Cherry Assistant has 10 free hours. So if you're like, I don't know, maybe they could help me with that really annoying data entry thing that I have in the back of my head, then just enter to win the free 10 hours and see if it works for you. But I digress. Let's get into building your image, an authentic identity. And sometimes I feel like the word authentic gets thrown around. So Lauren, could you talk us through this, and how do we make sure we're being authentic?
I like to say distinctive.
Okay.
Yeah, I was saying creative for a while and unique. I mean, I guess they're all kind of, we could throw them all up in the air and decide which one sticks. But authenticity, distinctive, it's just basically what makes you you. And so right now I'm in the midst of personal brands, and one of the recent ones I launched, he is selling himself. He is selling the reason why he got into what he's doing. And so the authenticity is really the vulnerability. It's like trying not to be too marketing jargon and give the people what they think they're supposed to hear, and really give them your inner self and like why you're doing what you're doing. So what I typically do is I try to figure that out, even back when I was doing products and services. And now with personal brands, it's like, why are you doing this? We already discussed earlier about the who, but what is your USP, and like, what is your reason for being? What is the reason you're doing this? And let's figure out how to creatively express that in only the way you can be. And what is your unique IP? So I think being distinctive is what we talked about earlier, with like the difference between Ben and Jerry's versus a Haagen-Dazs, and like what's the difference between Apple and Dell. I mean, computers are doing the same thing, but when you go to brand them, they're very different. And so why is that? And so I think that's what distinctive it means. And so authenticity is just owning your values. It's going out there and doing something a little bit differently than everybody else. And I'm kind of somebody that was trained and just like innately, like I said, back with my babysitting ad, I could say like, need a babysitter? Hire me. Here's my name. And that could have worked. It might have been fine. But just when you go a little bit further with how you market yourself and how you brand yourself to be a little bit more different, it's just like, if you think about the airline industry, what is different between United and Delta and like a Southwest Airlines? People that kind of want to step out of the comfort zone of best practice. And those are the things that kind of get me a little prickly, is like best practices, templates, what we're supposed to be doing. Like that for me is like not how I'm classically trained, nor is that how I try to look at brands in general. It's just like push the envelope, give the people what they want, but also give them something that is memorable. And it's kind of risky. Sometimes it is risky for a brand to decide to stray a little bit and be a little bit different and be kind of an Old Spice of the deodorant, And so that's how I define authenticity, is really trying to be distinctive and own your space.
Oh man, no one's ever said distinctive. I love the way you describe that. Before I comment anymore, Kyle, I'd love your reaction and your take on authenticity.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, the word authentic might be the most overused word in spirits marketing. Every brand is aiming to be authentic. I think, the way that I would react to that is like, you can't fake it, because consumers, your audience will know if you are. And for Chicken Cock Whiskey, I think that's a great example of a brand that isn't faking it. The brand's been around for 100 and close to 170 years. If we were going to start a new whiskey brand, I think we would be foolish to name it Chicken Cock. It's a name that gets a reaction from everyone that I speak to about it. But the reality is that brand was named 170 years ago, and the term rooster had not been invented yet. So it gives us a really great opportunity to tell the story of Chicken Cock whiskey and to talk about James A. Miller making this whiskey on his farm. He was really proud of the male chickens he had running around on his farm, so he called his whiskey Chicken Cock. And that story gets a laugh out of a lot of people. If you go into any bar or restaurant in the United States, you're going to find a cocktail list. So there's a lot of parallels and into history that allows us to tell our authentic story. But it makes it, only reason it's authentic and is distinctive is because of the brand name and because we're telling a story that is true to history.
Absolutely. And I'm curious what those of you at home are thinking who are like in bed. I know one of you at least told me you're going to be watching from in bed. So maybe you have it on YouTube and it's on your TV. So you can't comment. But if you can comment, I want to know what you all think. Like, how do you in the audience make yourself more authentic? I love the way I won't forget that. Be more distinctive. That's a really great way to describe it because you're right. So yeah, and Kyle, I'm glad that you agreed that like even in spirits, everyone's trying to be authentic, right? It's just like the whole thing. It's a
I
great
love Chicken Cock whiskey though, and cocktail. It's so good. That's amazing. It's so good. I can't believe how old that is.
Yeah, I mean, one of the really cool stories that we've uncovered with it is the term cocktail. Back in the day, it really is a mix of spirit, sugar, bitters, and when you would stir it, you would use a cock's tail to literally stir your drink, and that's one of the stories of where cocktail comes from. And
I don't think I ever put that together.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's an amazing branding asset. I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's incredible. Well, we definitely need to make a clip on that part because I don't think the entire world knows that. And that I just, that's so interesting.
I'm working on it.
Exactly. You're working in overtime. Okay. So let's get into topic 4, which is spirits brand success. So we've been talking a little bit about this, as you've probably picked up, Kyle. I don't think anyone else here, unless you're in the comments, let us know, works in spirits. I have never. I mean, I was a bartender in college, but that doesn't really count. But like spirits brand success, complete narrative sells. Like, what do we need to know, and like what can we expect to see, I guess, do you think, from spirits here in the near future?
Yeah, I think that everything is different and nothing has changed all at the same time. And really what I mean by that is you need to have everything in order to be successful. And this is not true just for spirits, but I'd say all beverage, all food and beverage, is you need to have a great package. That's what's going to get somebody interested, pick it up off the shelf, maybe get initially curious about your brand or product and understand what it is, how they might be able to use it. So number 1, you need a great package. Number 2, you need to have a product that works or tastes good in our situation. We have really delicious, high quality whiskey. And so, it's not just in a pretty bottle. It has a liquid, a whiskey that really stands up and delivers on the beautiful packaging. And as you dig deeper, you go to the website, you follow us on social, you're going to start to uncover those stories. And that gets into the third piece, is you need to have a brand story. A lot of consumers are looking for more. You can't just have a package. You can't just have something that tastes good. You need to have a story that goes with it. And all of those 3 things need to work together, right? So what I mean by that is, our package on our core Chicken Cock whiskey bourbon, there's a nice chicken wire texture to the bottle, which plays into the brand, that allows us to tell the story of the chickens and the roosters, and that ties into the packaging. And that just so happens to cage our whiskey. And we get to talk about the product and, letting something that good out of the cage once you get home and pour it. So all of those pieces work together. It helps tell a story. It's a lot of fun, and it makes having conversations with bartenders or store owners, a lot easier when you got something that's interesting.
Ah, that is so incredible. And that's one thing I've never really had to do is work on like packaging. Like I've always been a digital marketer. Everything I did was digital. So like actual tangible packaging always just fascinates me.
Yeah, that is one of the most rewarding aspects of being a CPG marketer is when you see something show up on shelf and it's like in the real world and you're watching other people pick it up and experience it. Is one of the most rewarding parts of the job.
Oh, I bet. What's your take on that, Lauren? Have you worked with tangible items before?
Yes, and I loved your point on narrative. It's so important, and it's definitely, I think, becoming more and more important in the age of AI and everybody kind of blending in and looking the same. But yes, I worked on Smarty Pants vitamins, and they were definitely one that early on when they were doing their packaging, they were deciding like, do we sell the long-term, like the benefit of what our vitamin is doing, or do we sell it for the person that's consuming it? And so that was interesting going through that with them. I was more responsible for some of their campaign endeavors to advertise for the person. And that's ultimately where they ended up. They were a little bit different than a company like Ollie, who talks about like it's for your nails and your hair versus it's for a female or for a woman or a psychographic. So yeah, I love CPG brands. And I agree with you that the packaging is so fun and can be so like keep talking about Ben & Jerry's so much. I don't know why. Maybe I have a sweet tooth right now. But yeah, I think that with like I was saying about Deep Betty Vodka too, that they had this kind of Betty Page girl to her, and they have like this summer vibe and the swimsuits and in the pool, and so I think that being your curb appeal, I say that even to personal brands about their websites, because they don't really have something tangible all the time. Like your digital curb appeal is how people show up to your website typically. And so what is that going to look like, and how are they going to experience you when they walk up to your front door? And so I believe everything Kyle's saying makes so much sense. And I would love to see some of the packages you've designed.
Absolutely. You got any nearby, Kyle, that you can hold up?
Yeah,
sure.
Let's cheers to you.
Here's one of our recent releases. Is that something you can only get at our distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky. It's a private cask. We bottle 1 barrel. You can get there. We've got another one here. Actually, this one is we are sponsors with Kevin Kisner, a PGA golfer, and he picked a barrel and did this one. So you can see the kind of like some green and yellow golf inspired colors. You get the pins.
I love the flag.
Kisner's tagline up there. I keep telling y'all this ain't no hobby. So this ain't no hobby is his tagline, and he let us put it on our whiskey. So get to do fun things that are beyond just kind of our core brands with some of our packaging.
That's so fun. That reminds me, I was asked to be kind of the boots on the ground girl here in Texas do you know Real Ale Brewing? Have you ever heard of them? They're a local of beer, and they never had a light beer ever in all their years. And so they're like, we're going to do a Fireman's Light. And so we had to think about the packaging and just like, is it going to be a smooth label? What's it going to look like? What's it going to say? And so I just, good job. Props up to you. That stuff looks great. And I love how you tied in the brand of the person that was, I guess, sponsoring it. Like, what was his tie into it? Was he considered a sponsor, or was he?
Yeah. We have a relationship, sponsorship, where he supports Chicken Cock Whiskey, and he wears our logo on his sleeve when he's out golfing on the PGA Tour. And he, for this particular release, he chose one of our barrels, and we bottled a whiskey that was special for him, and based on what he likes to drink. So that's awesome.
That is awesome. Liz is asking, do they come with the hat? LOL.
That is, of all the great aspects of spirits marketing, working in the spirits industry, one of the challenges is the legal side and compliance and
shipping.
One of the nuances there for something like this is we're not legally allowed to give away whiskey or any alcohol.
That makes sense. Well, great point. Thank you for that. Man, this is such a good topic. So I would love to hear from the audience. What do you all think about these topics on anything we've talked about or just spirit brand success in general? But before we wrap up on the topics, I want to just ask both of you, is there anything else either of you would want to add on anything that we've discussed tonight before I move on?
One thing we talked a little bit about ROI, or that was brought up in a question, and I didn't get a chance to mention it, but I'd be remiss to say that just because you can't measure the ROI doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I think that a lot of times as marketers, we can get attracted to, oh, we can measure this, so that means it's working, so we should do more of it. You got to use a little bit of your gut, and you have to be able to sell the leadership in your companies that doing things that are good for the brand, and drive value for the brand and connection with the consumer. Those are valuable things to do as well. So just ROI isn't everything, although it is important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm with Neil's comment on that with Preach, and like, where were you? And I was working with all these products and services, because it's hard to find, and there's data marketing now, and it's called something now where they're just like pulling levers just based on data. I'm like, what happened to brand? People have to
Lauren, just so we're clear, if I was in that meeting, I would have been asking about the ROI.
I know, and I understand you're in business to make money. I get it, but it is a long-term game. Branding is a long-term game. And so the last thing I guess I would want to offer to your audience is that anybody that wants to sign up for a dream catcher call with me, that's something I offer, and it's for free. It's 30 minutes, and I just get on the call with anybody that has a personal brand or has something they want to give back to the world, and they don't quite know how to package it up, or like, how do they monetize it, or how do they go to market with this idea that they have. And it's basically like what I said before. If you have a gift that you want to exploit in the service of others, that is what I'm in the business of helping create and get out to the people. So if you visit laurenbayne.com, you can sign up there. And that's the last thing I would want to offer your audience.
Well, we still have Guru of the Week, and we're going to give away your guys' prize here. And we'll end with giving like even more of a plug. So we hope that you'll share even more of what you do here in just a moment, Lauren. But let's get into the Guru of the Week. So the Guru of the Week. Ooh. So I'm going to pull myself out of the screen, and it'll just be the two of you. Could you please tell us about your Guru of the Week and why everyone in the audience should diversify their home feed in their LinkedIn page and get some new followers, or go follow some new people? So let me pull myself out, and I'm going to put your gurus up here.
Cool. I can go first here. My Guru of the Week is Carlton Fowler. He's a good friend of mine from business school, and we've both worked in the alcohol industry. Carlton, or CJ, has gone on to start his own VC fund, investing in beverage, especially alcohol, but also non-alc, food, and tech-enabled services that service the food and beverage industry. So he is the managing partner now at Goat Rodeo Capital, and he puts out some really cool stuff on LinkedIn, kind of what he's seeing in the marketplace, and always has his pulse on what's going on. So if you're interested in food and bev tech, he is a great follow.
Great. Is it okay? We're off to me now. Sorry. My guru is Scott Ramey. He is a confidence speaking coach. And so he came out of 30 years of corporate life and is one of my personal brands that I've recently launched. And he is such a spectacular person, just in general, who just meeting him and being in his sphere is just already a gift. But what he offers is he helps anxious presenters overcome their fears. And I translated that into his brand slogan of, when you own your voice, you own the room. And so what he provides people is a methodology that he's developed over his 30 years of being in corporate America, and his own battle with anxiety and his own battle with getting up there and presenting and selling. And so he's been able to pull all that together into a methodology into a service now for anybody really, but professionals who need to sell something or get in front of people or go speak. And the results I've seen, because I'm here to just help him brand and spread the word, but what I see from his customers is just like game changing. So I think if you follow Scott, it's a really great person to see activate on LinkedIn and be in his world.
That's incredible. Thank you both for sharing. Scott, Rami, and Carlton, I'm tagging both of them in the comments like right now as we speak. So definitely go follow them. They sound incredible. I'm going to do the same. And before we wrap up, I want to give away your prizes. I mean, okay, so everyone, if you're just now tuning in, put in hashtag revenue to get this like surprise unicorn gift and the bourbon hat. I'm going to go ahead and do the drawing here. Let's see who's going to win. Let's just do it live. So it's either going to be Elizabeth or Neil. So if you plugged in and you were entering, there's a chance. Congratulations, Neil. You are the winner of this prize. So if you, Neil, could please head on over. Well, actually, Sabrina will reach out. I think the link is still reveting.com/win. We did have to update it. So it should be reveting.com/win is where we need to collect your email, essentially, so that we can connect you with both of the guests via email so they can get you your prize and your details. We'll also collect your physical address so we can just also share that with Kyle since he's going to be working on shipping you a hat as well. But thank you for entering to win those prizes. And for everyone else who entered to win, if you were entering and you saw your name come up as like LinkedIn user, I don't know if you saw in the intro video of the show, but there's a privacy setting on LinkedIn that you have to give it access to send data to third parties. So I digress. If you go back to the intro video, there's steps on how to do that so you can enter to win next time. And with that, I want to pass it back over to, I almost said Dolly because I love your hat and I can't get over it, Lauren, and ask you to just tell us a little more. So like, if people wanted to work with you or like, if they wanted to do one of those really creative events that you were telling us about, like, how do they just go about approaching you about something like that?
Well, I'm sorry I jumped the gun on promoting my website, but laurenbayne.com is where you can kind of find out a bunch of information on me. That site's always iterating, but I'm on Instagram at Hey Lauren Bayne, LinkedIn at Lauren Bayne. But I love working with anybody and everybody that has a passion and gift they want to share with the world. And so I'm here to help you get that message out there. And my deliverable is through brand identity and website design, but I can kind of do a little of anything, but I just really, what the people I align with the most is launching and getting it out there and the excitement people have to share all the strategy and development they put together. And so then I just help give it some packaging and some messaging, like we talked about with packaging, but through their digital services and get them out in the world creatively and just give them branding IP that then can go across all their platforms. So y'all can get a hold of me at laurenbayne.com.
That is so cool. Thank you again for sharing. And by all means, promote yourself. You know, do it in the comments after the show. This is a safe place to sell, I always say. And Kyle, how about you? How can people reach out to you if they want to learn more about what you're doing?
For sure. Best place to reach me personally is on LinkedIn. I'm relatively active on LinkedIn and always welcome new connections and messages there. It's LinkedIn/Kyle Harder. And then for our brands, and really Chicken Cock Whiskey, our social is a great way to see what we're up to. It's Instagram, Chicken Cock Whiskey. Our website is chickencockwhiskey.com. You can also join our email list. And we just have our most recent release is our Chicken Cock Mizunara, which is a Japanese oak finished whiskey. Just comes out every year for the holidays, and this year happens to be a Mizunara cask. It's really nice. It's one of my favorite things we've done. You can find that along with everything else we make on our website, and we ship to 45 states.
That is incredible. Well, thank you for sharing that. And Neil is asking about the URL. So I'm just going to plug it in the comments, or actually, Sabrina, if you're still here, if you could plug that in, or I'll get to it after the show, but it's reveting.com/win. or you can just email us at ww@reveting.com and send us your email and your address, and we'll connect you with Kyle. And well, we appreciate everyone. Thank you, Neil, for entering to win. I'm so excited to introduce you to both Lauren and Kyle. And then also thank you, audience, for attending, as well as the guests. I know that like we had a little bit of like, communication struggles in the beginning, but it all worked out. You were both just rolled with the punches, and I really appreciate working with guests like you. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you liked it. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close us out. But next week, we do have another big event. Ooh, I don't want to cover anyone up. Still, let me go full screen so I'm not covering anyone up. We have Brianna Doe and Alana Sparrow coming next week. There's already over 500 people registered for this one. So definitely make sure that you're tuning in next week. We'll be talking more about personal branding and even more. But thanks again, Lauren and Kyle. I'm going to close this out now with an outro video. So see you later, everyone.